this is Heatherann Antonacci. I am an executive coach and chair with Vistage, Florida. And today I am joined by Chip Redmond, business partner with Transworld Business Advisors. How are you, Chip?
Good, Heatherann. How are you today?
I am very well. We are about halfway through our Friday, so it's a good thing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Looking forward to the weekend.
Homeschooling is at its finest right now.
We could do a whole session just on that.
I think the delicate balance between running a business and homeschooling could be an art form here coming down the line.
Hey, there could be a new business there.
That's right.
New business venture. So let's start by talking about your current business venture. So can you tell myself and everyone who's listening, about Transworld Business Advisors, and then really about your journey and how you ended up where you are?
Yeah, so Transworld Business Advisors, we help people to sell, buy, merge, acquire, and even franchise small to medium-sized businesses. This whole journey for me started kind of ways back, starting a business, running it for 10 plus years, kind of moving on from that, and then kind of starting another one afterwards. So, kind of for me, the small business connection has always been there. So once I learned about Transworld and business advisors and being able to kind of work with small business owners and kind of help them work through either that buying or selling side is really the two main points for us. It's been an incredible journey to be able to kind of take on an independence and a small business ownership part with being under a big umbrella like Transworld is. We're one of the largest in the nation.
Wow. Now, how long has Transworld had a presence in the Central Florida area?
Transworld has been around for 40 years. Our main office is in South Florida, down in Fort Lauderdale, owned by Andy Cagnetta. Andy owns all of Florida, and all of the Florida offices are run by him. Everything outside of Florida is a franchise, and we're actually part of a bigger franchise group, which actually goes worldwide. We have offices around the world.
So what does a typical client look like for you?
Typical client. So really for us, we do have those four pieces that we do, but typical for us is on the buying and selling side. So a typical client for us is somebody who has that small business or the medium-sized business that they're trying to sell or to buy. And, everyone's motivation is a little different when it comes to that. So, it's working with that Main Street USA type company. Our kind of range is small mom and pop pizzeria, nail salons, that whole piece, into maybe a medium-sized manufacturing facility. So It's a very large range that we deal with. You start getting over the kind of 5 million range, it starts getting a little bit above us, but we're pretty comfortable everything in between there.
And how large is Transworld in terms of, you said, I know it's, a very large company, but talk to me in terms of how many, business brokers and agents actually work within the company.
We have 200 offices and 500 plus agents.
Wow.
So we're pretty large.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any industries per se that you specialize in?
Everybody kind of has their little niches and their little comfort zones that they fall into. But as far as a business broker and the day-to-days that we get, it really is kind of that Main Street USA.
Okay.
That kind of is our day-to-day, which you would consider to be bread and butter. Anything in a normal strip plaza, kind of, that 75,000 to 300,000 range. Landscapers, pool guys, pizzerias, nail salons. That really is a lot of what we do. But it's pretty crazy when we start learning a little bit more out there of how many different industries are involved. The restaurant industry is a big one for us. It's about 25% of our business is in the restaurant, and even a little bit more you could bring in from the rest of hospitality.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit. You mentioned restaurants, and, with the current crisis that we're all involved in, I'd love to know, how has that impacted, to what level or what adjustments has Transworld had to make? And then what have you seen happening with your clients?
Our adjustment right now has almost gone into like a support mode, really. You know, there are some deals being done. There are some businesses being bought and sold. But, you know, banking right now, loans aren't being offered in the restaurant and some of the hospitality segments. So really those deals are kind of on hold right now. And we can't kind of unhinge those unless somebody wants to pay cash. But a lot of restaurants, as you know, have either closed kind of or gone into sort of like a limp mode where they're doing takeout, and they've had to basically adjust their model to just sort of bridge the gap through this time frame. It's a tough time for that category right now. I'm actually impressed with a lot of the restaurants and some of these guys that have actually figured out a way to get through this gap. You know, some of these guys didn't have curbside service. Some of them didn't have these options to be able to still, you know, supply somebody with a complete meal, you know, stop by your pizzeria and you pick up a pizza and take it home and cook it.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are coming up with new ideas during this time. And I personally am pretty impressed with that.
Do you find that you're having to support your clients a little bit differently in the current environment than maybe you've done in the past?
Yeah, so most of my calls today were helping some of my current clients and some of my potential clients work through some of the programs that are being offered right now.
Okay.
The CARES Act, the PPP, some of these other kind of programs that have been offered by the government, and, you know, trying to figure out what banks to go to, what sources they need to go to, what programs they can fit into. We kind of have to be that source of knowledge right now for them to kind of help them get through this. You know, at the end of the day, we're part of the community, so we kind of figure we need to give back at this point in time.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a lot of information, you know, out there right now for everyone, you know, and all with the best of intent. But I think, you know, helping your clients kind of navigate through that, you know, and providing them resources and information. You know, again, there's just so much of it out there.
Well, it's kind of tough, and it's coming at you from so many different angles. And, you know, even the stuff that I'm trying to pass along, I'm trying to send it right from the source. And, you know, I feel bad for some of these small business owners. All the stress that they're dealing with, and now they're getting hit from all these different directions with these programs. And these programs can keep them going. So
yes.
This could be the make or break for some of these guys.
Yes. And the programs, some of the rules and the interpretation of the rules are changing on, you know, on a daily basis. I mean, you no sooner have a webinar or a presentation, and then, you know, within the time that's over, something has changed. So, yeah, it's requiring, you know, a lot of
or who they go to, and
yes.
with that application has been changing.
Yeah.
You know, some of these loan programs, are they going to their bank? Is it other banks? You know, who will accept those applications? That's been tough.
Yes, it's you know, very different environment, of course. You know, talk to me a little bit. You know, one of the big changes in the current crisis is the remote workforce. Now, is that something that really wasn't a change for TransWorld? I mean, do you typically have a remote work environment anyway?
It wasn't that big of a drastic change for us. A lot of us do work from home. We can work from the office. We call in, and we've used video chatting during our weekly and monthly meetings that we have. And we've just transferred that into doing some video chats now with our clients.
Okay.
It has changed things because a lot of us, I'm a firm believer in this. I like doing handshakes. I like doing face-to-face. There's something about that personal interaction and that connection that is kind of missing right now.
Yeah.
So from a client standpoint, I still think that, you know, we're going to need to get back to that, especially when we're starting new relationships. It's kind of tough to start a new relationship over a video chat and to really get an understanding with somebody. For what we do, it's going to sound strange, but there really needs to be a relationship and a connection between us and our clients. We need to understand what they're going through. We need to understand their motivation. And video is almost like text messaging, some of these other things. Little things get lost or misinterpreted.
Yeah. Well, and I would have to believe that, with the service that you provide and just the industry that you're in, that space, the decisions that your clients are making are very personal and very emotional, potentially life-changing decisions. So, you want to be there with them face to face, as all of that is transpiring and, and not have to do that over the computer, over the phone. So
we've always done a lot of things electronically. We can do a lot of document signing electronically. But yeah, there's, again, there's two ends of the spectrum. It's usually something really good for them, or I hate to say it, it's usually something really bad. So you really want to be there for both.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great retirement. I'm now cashing out, and this is the what I'm going to walk away with, and this is awesome. Or this didn't work out, and this is the situation that I'm now also working through.
Yeah, so you're right. The highs and the lows, kind of
Not a lot of middle ground in our world.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange.
So there's always a challenge.
Yeah, and that's actually the cool part too. Being involved in helping somebody through those challenges. The really cool ones is I hate to say it, is on the bottom end when a business hasn't done real well, and then you can actually help that person get out of that situation. It's a really neat, gratifying feeling, because you think about a business closing, but you forget about some of the personal guarantees or some of those things that those people signed up for. That's a bit above and beyond from a business scope. When somebody signs up for a lease, that's a personal guarantee on a lease. So when we can actually sell a business like an asset sale that's actually closed or shut down, sometimes we're getting that person off a long-term lease that could be worth a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
So they might only walk away with a few $1,000s for their business, but at least they walked away with some money, and they relieved themselves from that connection and that guarantee that they gave them. Some of these, you have a 5-year lease and you're personally guaranteed for that. You're pretty happy to be able to pass that on to a new owner.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great success story, because you're right. I mean, something that, could potentially be a bad news story can end up actually being a good news story, in the end. So
there's a few guys in our office that tell stories where people walked away with just a few $1,000s, and they hugged the broker at the end of the meeting. And the first time I heard those, it didn't really make any sense to me. And then later, once I started kind of having some of those things myself, and I'm like, yeah, I get this now. Some of the emotions that these people and the ties that they have, they're just happy to be able to get away, or to get away with something. And it's pretty neat to be able to help them through that. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. Tell me a little bit, as we think ahead, and let's just pretend that we're out of this COVID-19 crisis. Yeah. What does it look like? What's the future look like specifically for your business and then for your industry?
So we still see a lot of baby boomers on the horizon. We're starting to see that now. So we're starting to see a lot of baby boomers owning businesses, starting to get to the point where they're starting to sell them off. Are they going to sell them off? Are they going to transfer that now to maybe some sons or daughters? Or have they sold or retired, and now they want to buy a business to then kind of continue on because they're retiring, but they're the type of people that really can never retire.
I know some of those.
Yeah, there's a few of those. I know a guy with 3 business cards who's been retired for years. So we honestly, the baby boomers for us is a huge question mark, and it's something that we see on the horizon as it's going to be a huge kind of fluctuation and a lot of change coming down the line, because there's a lot of people in that age bracket who are gonna want to cash out and who are gonna want to move on, and we're not sure whether or not there's going to be enough younger entrepreneurs to take those on, or how this is all going to shake out. We see positives absolutely across the board from it. For us, the coming and going is great for our industry. And it's going to be neat to see some of these younger entrepreneurs start taking some of these businesses on.
And see what they do with it, whether they continue it the way it is, or if they kind of, change the model, diversify, Yeah, it's an exciting time for sure.
There's a big difference between the plumbing guy who's been doing that for 40 plus years, and versus the son maybe that's got new ideas and he's going to start doing things a different way. It's going to be pretty neat, I think.
Yeah, and you get to watch it front and center.
Yeah, hopefully it comes out well for us, and it's going to be neat to see how this all shakes out with baby boomers, because it already is starting to
it's already changing.
To see pieces of it. Yeah,
the horizon is changing for sure.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you, so we've talked about you've talked kind of what Transworld Business Advisors does and how you do it, but I always like to get back to the why. So if I was a potential client, why would I want to do business with Chip Redmond? I mean, this is your opportunity to tell me, why you're so great, and I should do business with you, because I'm sure the space that you're in is very crowded. So what sets it apart for you?
It's that relationship side. I've always been a big supporter of local economy. Being that small business kind of advisor to me has almost been like, it's been a relief, and it's been a kind of a rejuvenation for me. There's that connection to everything it's been an incredible ride for me. When we're kind of talking with a client, we're trying to figure out what that motivation is. So there's a connection that comes in to where, to do it right, you got to wrap your head around their business and what they're going through. Some of the guys that are very good at what we do, you almost get close enough to where you really feel like you're part of that business. And once you can kind of get into that sort of relationship, and we're trying to bring two people together with this, and we're almost kind of, we really are creating relationships, because we're trying to match that seller with that buyer, or vice versa.
I was just going to say you're a matchmaker.
Yeah, I was going to kind of get into that from sort of a personal side, but yeah, we really are. It's not quite that glorified, but that seller has a chance to sell to anybody that he wants to. He doesn't have to sell. So that's where sort of the relationship and finding that true motivation for both sides really is kind of the cool part and the invigorating part of what we do. It's to see those come together. It's pretty neat. Now, sometimes it's not always the perfect match. Sometimes it's just for money, which is cool for somebody too. But when you find that perfect client for that, that perfect seller, it's pretty neat.
So from what you're saying, I mean, it is absolutely more relational than transactional.
Yeah, we're salesmen at the, if you break it down to what we're doing, but it's really way beyond that. It's a bigger picture. It's a much more of a relationship situation.
That's good. That's very good. Okay, last question, and it's going to be the toughest question that I'm going to ask you during this interview.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm making an assumption there. It may not be. It may be very easy.
That's okay.
If Chip Redmond was able to have a leadership advisory council, and these were individuals that you could go to for both professional and personal guidance on any subject matter, but you could only limit it to 3 individuals. The criteria being that those individuals either need to be alive or deceased, but they actually need to be real people, so no fictitious characters. Who would Chip have on his leadership advisory council, and why?
Yeah, so that's a pretty good question. I'm going to take an easy one to start with, and that's going to be my father. And he was a laborer, so he had a way of kind of breaking things down and keeping things simple. Today we kind of go and make things more difficult than they need to be. And you got to kind of, I think, sometimes go back to the simplicity of things. Plus, hey, I'd like to spend a little more time with them. That'd be kind of cool. Vince Lombardi is another one on my list that I would like to have on there. Just the creativity and that drive to win, and just when you look at teams and you being able to juggle teams, that leadership piece is one that really kind of intrigues me about him. And then if I was to pull my last one, I would have to kind of go with sort of I don't want to say an easy buzzword one right now, but Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V is a cool one right now, I think. He's pushing all this, kind of doing right and positivity and kind of paying it forward stuff. And I really think that we all need to kind of keep moving that way. We need to go back to a little bit more optimism, a little bit more kind of positivity with what we're doing.
Especially in today's age, right?
Yeah, thanking people, hugging people. Okay, COVID, that's, can't do that one right now.
Air hugs.
But there's nothing wrong with kindness, and there's nothing wrong with kind of, helping people before you worry about getting paid. I really think that kind of, some of the older things that used to be done, handwritten notes, some personal meetings, there's some kind of old school things that are being kind of left by the wayside. And I kind of respect some of these people that are kind of bringing those back.
That's great. That's great. So let me ask you now, before we end this, if someone is listening or watching this and they wanted to find out more about the services that Transworld Business Advisors can offer, or they just want to connect with you, what's the best way for someone to do that?
So we are tworld.com.
tworld.com.
tworld.com. I work from the Orlando office, so it would be tworld/Orlando.
Okay.
And my email address is Chris Redmond, all one word, CHRISREDMOND @tworld.com.
Okay, fantastic. So it's Chris Redmond, even though you've allowed me to call you Chip. So thank you for that, Chip.
You have moved into the inner circle.
I feel very welcome there. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time with me today. Stay safe as we go into the weekend. Stay healthy, and I wish you continued success at Transworld Business Advisors.
I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Chip.
Thank you.